What's up and welcome. I got my boy Ham here for a little week one recap and some talk about week two. Um, Up on the screen right now, we got the results from week one. Any of these jumping out at you, Ham, or do you want to just kind of go through them in order?
In my mind, the one that jumps out at me the most is the first one. It's just such a lopsided score, first of all, at the end in a tie. You're talking a 4 goal differential. And Grant came out and absolutely dominated Adam in that first game, only for Adam to sneak out a win in the second game. And it felt like Grant was going to run him over twice, and it just kind of showed the duality of the two-game system in this format. Um,
Yeah, no, I think everyone was in complete agreement there. Game one was like 6-1. That is the only game that we do not have VOD footage of, but you weren't really missing much. I'm pretty sure Bowser Jr. just put like 5 or 6 goals in. And then game two, Adam got off to a very early lead and just somehow was able to hold it, which I think is kind of going to be how most upsets are able to happen. Adam with the Waluigi triple hammer, bro, one of the most ambitious teams that we've seen, just in terms of composition. So I think he'll be happy that he was able to get out of there week one with any points because he played against two really good teams and somehow got a tie out of there.
two
And
ties out of both of them.
he lost to Colin.
Did he? Oh, my
Yeah,
bad, my bad, my bad.
yeah. Grant had a tie with me, which also too I think game two was a little bit closer. Once he came to my home territory of the dump, I was able to bring him down a little bit. But Grant is very very threatening.
Absolutely. I think Grant is the team that I'm gonna call sneaky good, and I'm only calling them sneaky good because he, in my mind, should have won both games and came out with two ties, so he's lower in the table coming out of the week playing two games. But I think that he's in for a big week this week. I don't even know who he's playing, but as long as it's not me, I'm happy with the results.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll get to those predictions later. But yeah, Grant coming out of there with just 2 points is completely and utterly criminal. Um, I think that now we could move into probably was you talk about a sleeper team. Collins' team came up, showed up to the field, and absolutely dominated. Uh, and I think they deserved every bit of success that they got.
Absolutely. Wario put on a masterclass. I think he was averaging 3 and 3/4 or 3.5 goals a game. Just absolute stunning performance from him. And I think Wario, am I correct in that he fell decently far in that draft? And so for him to jump online and just absolutely rock the world was very surprising, I think, for most people.
It was actually the exact opposite. What happened
My bad.
is when we ran the simulations, Wario got rinsed, and it was called the Wario sweepstakes for whoever would be the last pick in the draft was guaranteed to get Wario. But Colin decided to randomly wheel away his first pick and wheeled Wario as the number one, despite the fact that he probably would have gone all the way down, and then ended up absolutely fiending. So, so yes and no. You're not wrong that no one wanted Wario, but he actually was the very first pick in the draft, which is kind of fitting. But once again, he was going up against the Triple Hammer Bro team, which had absolutely zero defense. So maybe, he'll be a little bit more tempered in the future. But then again, the next game he played against Garrett and absolutely feasted all over again.
And I think Garrett had a much more balanced team
Mm-hmm.
in that matchup. I think Garrett was actually upset that like he felt he had built a very balanced team and it hadn't paid dividends where other teams were building just offense, offense, offense and had won games. And so it's interesting to see how both the captain in Wario, but also a team balance can and cannot affect some games. Um, I think like having a good captain, but having a good captain is important, but having a good sidekicks is the difference between being able to compete and not being able to compete if you don't have a good captain.
Yeah, and we're gonna see. Now is when people kind of have more information and they can actually start to iterate. And
Yeah,
now is going to be the real test of like can people adapt to what they saw, or are they just going to kind of stay stagnant? I mean, I don't really know what changes Colin could make to optimize, but I think Garrett definitely has more data moving forward. His next game was also particularly rough. He played against the Dirty Turtles, which is Eric, who has Bowser and his Legion of Boos. And this is the team I think that I am most scared to play. Not necessarily because I think that they are the very best, but because Eric has not really put much thought into his roster construction and they are still just disgusting.
Yeah. I think if Eric gives it some thought, he could very easily turn this into a absolutely filthy team, best in the league. But I could also see Eric just being stubborn and running with triple boo for the entire season. And honestly, he could have great success with that.
Yeah.
Um, I think part of the beauty of it, and I'm just kind of coming to terms with it, is we've got data for 1 week, but
Yeah.
it is also random CPU data. So who knows what is coming next week, and who's gonna show up, which captains are gonna keep using their mega strikes, which sidekicks are gonna decide that they want to use their special, on who's not gonna want it. Like if Dry Bones comes out next week, in my mind, and doesn't use a single skill strike the entire week, I wouldn't be that surprised. Um, but it's stuff that could happen. But that's the beauty of almost complete randomness in this. Is this you can try your best to do something, but at a certain point you don't have control.
Yeah, and I think something that we definitely learned, which probably should be kept in mind for the future, is we made like these teams, a lot of us based off what we saw like on draft night, and on based off draft night, Wario was the worst player in the league, and I think Bowser fell all the way to pick 11.
Yeah,
So there is a good chance that everything we just saw in week one will instantly revert in week two, which would be really funny.
would
Um,
be great in my mind.
yeah,
Just someone who's sitting at the bottom of the table would be great.
but I mean, you played in what I think was by far the series of the week. You and Jacob was absolutely all time, and I think that is definitely one of those games where if we run the sim again, there's a very good chance that you win, if not tie. Because I think it was in game two where he was down by two with 5 seconds left and he hit a 2 goal mega strike. So if Yoshi gets hit by any item, if anyone makes a tackle in that build up play, then you're walking out of there with at least 1 point.
Absolutely. It was an electric game. Lots of hits. Looked like hockey. Love it. Jacob is a man of class. He knows how to have a duel. It was definitely a slugfest. Love that game.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll talk about team rankings later, but I think Yoshi's mega strike potential is absolutely ridiculous. So I don't think there's going to be a point in any game at any time in the season where he is actually fully out of the game.
Absolutely. Especially, the only thing in my mind is he's got to coach up his Yoshi's confidence. He was
Yeah.
he was on point calling the Mega Strike goals and then the correct number of them, but he's got to get to the point in my mind where he's predicting 4, not 0 from his captain. Um, and that's look, I'm not sitting here saying like I could predict better because he went 4 for 4 I think on his predictions,
Yeah, which is
but
crazy.
I would just love to see him have more confidence in his captain. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think he could have won the game by a lot more if he just said he was going to score like 5 or 6 every time, but
Yeah.
he has his ways. Now, this I think was probably next game Danny versus David might have been the saddest tie. I think Danny got absolutely robbed. I think, Grant versus Adam levels. I think this David team is complete garbage. Um, and I think Danny had a very well constructed team that just did not get rewarded.
I don't know if you have the ability to show the points per player stats, but Toad being in the bottom 2 of all players is not something in my mind that is great for a team, and to have 3 Toads for David is definitely not, in my mind, a well constructed team. Um, but I think Danny definitely put a good team together. I think both of those captains are going to struggle to score. I think Luigi had 1 Mega Strike and Peach had none. if I'm pulling those stats off the top of my head correctly. I've been staring at this data sheet for a little too long, I think. Um, but
Yeah,
but
Luigi had one and Peach had none. And also, too, Toad is pretty much incapable of scoring a skill shot goal and
yeah,
also pretty much incapable of scoring from the field. So it's pretty much going to all come down to Luigi. And he did not show, like, I think you could have strapped up the three Toads to Bowser and Eric would have had pretty much the exact same result. Um,
yeah,
and it, Luigi's not getting it done.
no. I don't know that Peach is gonna get it done either, but I like Danny's composition. I think his players have the ability to score more frequently. So tough for him to come out with a tie there, but we'll see how it shakes out in week two.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just thought that he deserved more.
absolutely,
Both off team composition and what we saw in the field. Last game, stinker of the week, Shell versus
absolutely.
Freddy.
Especially especially the very last game.
Yeah,
We've had barn burners all day, and then we end the day on a 1-0. It's just like, okay, this is underwhelming as crap. And don't get me wrong, credit to, was it Shell that managed to sneak out the tie with the 1-0 win there?
I think so.
Um,
Yeah,
but just not really what you want to see, in my opinion. Like, I'm here for entertainment purposes. This is a very rigged league. We want high scoring games. Bet the over every single week. Um, but um, tough to see a 1-0. Tough to see a 4-4 over 2 games. Just not what the people are after. Um, but
no,
they both
not
get to
gonna put
make
butts in seats.
no. But I think we get a better ending to next week. I think Colin is Colin. No, Colin's the end of week 8. We were looking at that last night. Um, but I think we get a better end to next week, and I'm hoping that those two can go in and make some changes and get some more points on the board next week as well.
Yeah, who
Whether
knows?
it's
Both teams could be really
result
strong and
points,
just balanced each other out, which is a
maybe.
possibility for a lot of these things. Because like
Absolutely.
when we did the preseason scrims, Garrett ran the same team and beat my team with PD.
Yeah,
And a lot of other stuff went the other way that it did. So it may just be matchup dependent. It may just be the randomness of the simulation. We really don't know yet.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm gonna pretend
Um,
like the data's concrete though. It's more fun.
you wanna roll into tier lists?
Sure, we go tier list.
Yeah. Um, so next up, we
Is this
thought we'd
tier?
go. What'd you say?
Are we gonna do tier list based on just week one rankings, or are we gonna include like the scrims beforehand? Is my new question.
Um, I'm going based off like what I think about the team as a whole, like overall, like prospects. Like, I mean,
Okay.
we can break down what we're looking for. I mean, I think one thing to consider is what they've already shown on the field.
Yeah.
Two is what we think their prospects are for the entirety of the season, and then three is X factor. Obviously, do you want to watch? Are you magnetized by what you see on the field?
I see. I see. Okay. Okay.
So we'll just do this. I didn't organize this at all. We can just go in this pretty much random order. So
Okay.
first up, we got Peach, which is Danny, which I believe the team name is the triple spread option.
It
What
spread triple option.
spread triple option? My bad. Um, where are we thinking in this tier list?
I'm I think that Danny's sidekicks are really well picked week one. However, Peach, in terms of a captain, I don't think is getting it done for me. And so for right now, I think the highest I can put Peach is B. So I'm between B and C for this team. Um, because I'm worried that they might have already hit their ceiling because the sidekicks are good. But I don't trust Peach to get results. Simply put.
Yeah, I think based off what Danny's like how his team looked, I would put them in B. But based off the competition they played, I would put them in C.
Where I'm at.
Okay. So I think feel pretty confident about that. Another way to think about it too is, like S tier could be, like top two teams, like absolute lock for those top four spots, which are the, what's most coveted. A is, like kind of bubble, like 2 to 6. B is sort of like that middle, like 8 to 10, and then C and D are sort of like 10 to 12. So Danny, I think, is kind of like right. Like Danny's going to be fighting to get into playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Okay.
I think he'll be fighting for that like 8 spot, not that 4-5 spot.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think that's a good spot, good position for him. Next up, we got Yoshi. Now, I actually am very big on this team. I think that like the captain's ability to get mega strikes is a huge consideration for how highly I rate a team. And Jacob has a solid team composition, and Yoshi is a mega strike fiend.
I'm thinking upwards of S here. I know that he came away with a tie this week, but at the same time, I would agree his team comp is good, and Yoshi had probably 5 mega strikes over those 2 games,
Mm-hmm.
and had one that went for nothing. So I don't think he's gonna have that lackluster performance on the mega strikes again. I think I was lucky to walk away with a tie there. I'm thinking he's in S tier.
I'm down for that. I think the only time he used his special and didn't get a mega strike is when he popped it. He popped the egg on his own goalie.
I, that's correct. I forgot about that.
So, so
And
that
that's even
that
more terrifying to me.
yeah, and Jacob has a solid team around him too. So I like it's not like
Absolutely.
they're gonna get run off the field. So come on, Mr. Monty is sitting in sitting at the top of S tier right now.
Yeah.
Next up we got your sleeper team. What are you thinking for the Lemons?
I'm looking at this team comp right now. Boo, Dry Bones, Shy Guy for sidekicks. Bowser Jr., another guy who in my mind was really effective using his special ability. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking no lower than B for sure. I like his sidekicks. I think Boo was garbage, but everyone thought Boo was going to be decent. I think he was one of the most highly selected sidekicks, so
Yeah.
I can't fault him for picking Boo there. Um, but I think that he's a solid A tier coming out of this week, but I imagine him jumping up to S pretty quick with some changes that he can make.
Yeah, I'm
I
I'm
just
fully down for A. I think if we think about A, the people who are, like very much going to be competing for top four, that's what I think of for the Lemons. I think like you're spot on in terms of, Bowser Jr. looked like a fiend out there, both in terms of goal scoring and his special. And Grant also revolutionized midfield dry bones. I think he might have been the only
absolutely,
person to run midfield dry bones, and he looked insane. Even from defense, dry bones led the entire sidekicks out of goals per game. So I think A is fair, and we already talked about that. He got absolutely robbed walking out of both of those series with 2 points. He very easily could have been six.
absolutely. I will give Shell some credit where credit is due. He also did have a midfield dry bones.
Okay, okay. Shell with the last submission of rosters. Throwing midfield dry bones out there. All right. Next up, we got Fred with Waluigi, which I believe is Fred Chester United. Um, not a great showing, especially if you consider what we talked about X Factor. Very much like a mess series all around.
Yeah. Um, it's unfortunate because I think Shell's sidekicks actually did manage to have a big effect on that game. Um, so I don't know if it was truly a unfortunate showing from Freddie here as much as it was like a good showing from Shell. I think Freddie can make some changes. His sidekicks look good, maybe just switching some players around. Um, Waluigi didn't blow me away, so I'm sitting at like a B tier here. I don't think that I can go much higher until Waluigi starts producing goals like some of the other uh, captains did.
Freddie and Danny play tomorrow. Who wins?
Freddie and Danny.
Because right now
That's a
you're talking about putting Freddie in the B tier, which will be above Danny.
that okay. I you thank you for the correction. He should go down to C in my mind,
Yeah.
because that is a I'm predicting a tie there where they split games.
Yeah. So I think that they're they're reversible within this
Yeah,
tier, but I feel
yeah,
like they if we put Danny in C, it's only fair to put Freddie there.
I would agree. I'd agree.
So I'm gonna go ahead and step off the mic for a second. I'm gonna let you direct me where you want to place this fella right here.
So this is Austin's team, Tottenham Hotspurs. Class name, by the way. Um, Trash soccer team, class name. Um, but Petey Piranha had sidekicks of Boo, Koopa, Monty. I think that those are solid sidekicks. Once again, I think a lot of people are going to transfer out Boo this week. We'll see what actually happens. Um, I think Petey Piranha refused to hit a mega strike in that game. I think he had a couple major opportunities where he could have had time and room. He used his ability a lot, but I wouldn't say he used it effectively. I think this is a B tier where you're fighting for that 5-6 spot. Not really too worried about making playoffs, but definitely not necessarily as comfortable as like Yoshi and Bowser Jr. are up at the top.
I,
So,
I I I accept everything that you said, and I think that's where I would put myself. Next up, Princess and the Toads, Luigi. Um,
there's only one correct place,
I
and it's
think L
probably
stands
below D.
for lose and D stands for David.
Yeah,
Like we talked about earlier, I felt like Danny definitely deserved to win that game. And yeah, this team needs to make changes. Maybe we'll be proved wrong, but I cannot see them scoring more than they did ever.
yeah.
And Luigi and Mario seem hell bent on just rolling around the field when they're big rather than using their Mega Strike.
I I think that Luigi and Mario have proven to me that they have the worst power-up abilities in the game right now, and
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone saw that coming.
Yeah.
Um, and then unfortunately to pair Luigi with three of the worst sidekicks in the game, I genuinely think that Luigi could be below D. This team could be below D. And I mean this with as much respect to Dave as I can, but I think he needs to make some changes this week, and I'm hoping he hasn't just thrown in the towel. Because I could see a tanking season from Dave trying to rebuild for next one. But it was not a good performance, and he was lucky to walk away with a point.
Yeah. Which we can kind of, you're talking about make some changes to the team. We have, his brother here, with, exact same power up,
Yeah.
but with a much better and more balanced team. So where do you think that puts Mario, given all the critiques we have of Luigi, terrible power up? Where do you think that puts Mario with an actual solid team around him?
I I think Shell might have picked the best three sidekicks in my mind right now. Through 1 week, those are up there with my top three. There might be like Monty Mole could get in there, and maybe one other that I'm not thinking of right now. Maybe Birdo or Coop. He's got Koopa. Maybe Birdo, but I think he's picked some really good sidekicks, and I think he's got him in really good spots. So I don't know that I'm really willing to put him up in C where we have Waluigi and Peach. But I think he's definitely a step above Luigi in D, which is part of my reason that I still will stand by Luigi's got to go down to F, and I know it's not
Yeah.
letting you make it.
Well, I'm fine to put Mario like in the bottom of C, and just we can just keep him down here until
Yeah,
there's someone else that we consider equal. I'm
yeah,
fine just having him be, alone in D.
yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah.
Very interesting team up next. Absolute.
I
Go ahead.
I just have no words for this team. I don't know how many open field. I think you said he had one open field goal.
Yeah, one or two.
And no goals from his sidekicks. So ceiling for this team is S alone.
Mm-hmm.
Floor and current for this team, because I think he is currently at his floor with his sidekicks. Um, I think I want to put him in B, but I don't know that I can actually go that low. So I think I want to put him in A.
I
Um,
I agree. I think A is fair. I think A with the easy potential to be S, and he may just end up being S without having to do anything.
yeah,
Because like I think how your captain uses their special ability is so important, and Bowser
Absolutely.
is absolutely lethal. He saunters around the pitch and sets everyone ablaze, and then just has the freest Mega Strike of all time. So I mean, if Eric put like a class team of sidekicks around him, he'd be S probably, the best in the league. But he has triple boos right now, and boo stocks are not high across the league. How much of that comes from the fact that Eric had triple, pulling their statistics down, but they also did not really help Bowser at all.
No.
But they do just feed him
Uh,
the ball, and they feed it to him well.
Absolutely. It was as much as I want to sit here and hate his team. I think he did. He go 2-0. Is he top of the board,
Uh,
or did he draw a game?
he definitely didn't draw. I think he only played one. He only played Garrett,
Okay.
and scored 8 goals across 2 games with a +4 goal differential. So
Yeah.
very very dominant.
Yeah. Uh, Second in the leaderboard. I want to hate his team, but they won. So
Yeah, which I'm so mad because Bowser was my pick coming in until I watched the PD Sim game where he absolutely rinsed Wario, and that turns out to be like the least consequential game of all time in terms of what we saw in week 1. Um, Talking about captains that are economic and effective in using their special, DK was not that. Man loves freaking holding on to his Thunder Smash, which I don't think is that bad of ability. I don't think it's great, but he does not seem to be equipped to use it at all. He was just holding on to it pretty much until the game ended. So that's disappointing. But overall, I think they put up a really good performance about against what we have currently ranked as the best team in the league. So I would put DK, which is Hamilton's team, which is also known as Donkey's Nuts. Um,
oh,
I,
maybe.
I would put them in B, right next to PD. Um, I think these two teams are unfortunately eerily similar. And whenever they play against each other, I have absolutely no idea where that game is going to go, because I think that they are pretty much mirror matchups.
I think I'd agree with exactly what you said. I think if I could have done more research before the game, I would have liked to know what the abilities of everyone were. And Donkey's ability, in my mind, is not bad, but it is not as effective as Yoshi, Bowser, or Bowser Jr., especially with how they use it.
Yeah.
So,
And we had the exact same lineup, barring a Koopa for a Shy Guy, which is
uh,
essentially the same thing.
class.
So we go from like cripplingly mid to the outbreak performance of the week. The Warriors FC, or Warriors. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm putting them at S. I don't. Do you have any counterpoint?
No. My only statement is I think he can get better.
Yeah.
He's got a Toad in that lineup. I'm not here to slander Toad. I think there will be days where Toad absolutely feasts, and if David doesn't change his name, Princess and the Toads will pop off because Toad eats. But I think he can increase his sidekicks. Wario was incredibly effective. I think either the top or the second goals per game player and played the most games with the captains. Um, just clinical and very clearly deserving of that tier.
Yeah, let me give you the stats. 15 goals across 4 games and 6 mega
Insane.
strikes. So
Insane.
he is still averaging 1.5 mega strikes per game, which is in the top 3, and he is just below Bowser in total goals per game, but Bowser was carried by his mega strikes per game. So he's pretty
Yeah.
much number 2 or number 3 in mega strikes per game, and is
He's,
also highest just in out like regular goals.
I was gonna say he's probably number one in just open field play goals per game, which is no simple stat. Critter is a beast in the frame.
Yeah. So we go from a very high powered shooting captain to one that's much less, but was surrounded by high powered offensive shooting talent. What are you making of the Flying Dutchman or Adams team with Diddy?
I I don't know what to make of this team, if I'm being honest. There is no defense. So if we get a
Yeah.
balanced team going against him, I don't know what the game's going to result in. But if someone else throws out a absolute slugfest, I'm worried about Diddy's ability to keep up with the other captain. Um, I I think I'm gonna put I think I'd put Diddy around B. Once again, just a captain who's not effective, but a team around him that's helped him this week at least. Do I love the triple hammer bro strat? No, but was it somewhat effective? Yes.
Yeah, I think he's like 1 to 2 changes from being really dangerous. So if I were to rate purely based off week 1, I would put him in C. But considering what you just said and the fact that I think if he makes a couple changes, I think Diddy has a pretty good power up um, that he could be in B. So I would say either top of C or low B. Sounds like you're leaning towards low B.
I would agree. I think low B is more appropriate.
Yeah, and that's kind of us making a bet on the future. And also
Yeah,
too, if our tier list is correct and not, just corrupted by the fact that we have like very little to no data, he did play against Bowser Jr. and Wario. So that's
fair.
did those teams look good just because they were playing against his team? Maybe. We don't know yet. Um and that takes us to sad poor Daisy. Um Daisy got rinsed by Bowser and Colin. That is Wario. What do you make of Flower Power FC?
I'm sitting here looking at the sidekicks of Hammer Bro, Koopa, Dry Bones, all solid sidekicks. I'm thinking that I don't know how he got absolutely rinsed twice, other than he played a team that's S tier and a team that could be the best in the league if it didn't have triple boot. Um, and so I'm higher on this team because I think if it plays a not top team, I think it will do well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Garrett was very upset though, and so I'm kind of curious to see what changes he makes coming into this week. But um, I think I don't know who he plays this week, but I'm optimistic in him to get at least a point out of this week if he only has one game.
Yeah. I think, this is a good time to use the question we used earlier. If he played against the B tier teams or the C tier teams, where do you think he'd fall? Like if he played against Diddy, who do you think would win?
I think it would be tough because I think that the main issue I'm leaning more high C than I am low B,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm thinking that because while he did get absolutely literally torched by Bowser, um, I'm thinking that if that doesn't happen, he might be able to get some results, stay in the game a little bit longer. Plus, everyone picking Thunder Island, I don't think helped Daisy stay on the map and be able to show what she had. I'm more inclined. I'm sitting here thinking about it more. I'm inclined to go low B than high C here. I think.
Okay.
Um,
I'm down for it, and that again is a bet in the future. Um,
yeah,
I think that like they are like right there in the middle, where I don't think
yeah,
I could confidently say that they would lose to the teams in B tier, and I don't think I could confidently say that they would lose to the teams in C tier.
yeah.
Um, do you have any issue with the ordering of what we have in these tiers?
Only that I'm behind you, but I think that's just a personal grievance. It's not actually because I think my team's better than yours.
I'm just gonna keep dragging
Uh,
until I stop with my eyes closed and I've
okay.
ended in front. um,
Sure, his eyes were closed, of course.
I think I would
Uh,
I think I would maybe put Bowser top of A.
yeah, I think that's correct.
And
I'm looking
then
at the C tier to try and figure out if I want to switch Peach and Luigi. I'm
Peach and
looking at those
Luigi.
teams. Peach and Waluigi. Sorry, I'm just looking at Luigi needs to stay wherever the heck he is.
Yeah. Or who do you have higher hopes for, Shell or Freddy?
Shells Mario?
Yeah.
I think I think Waluigi with
Okay.
I
I think Waluigi goes above Peach because I think that Freddy and Garrett are very similar in terms of their prospects.
I would agree. And that was exactly what I was coming to. I think Shell's gonna stay a little bit lower just because I don't like Mario's power up.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think
but I think
Waluigi's could be good, and I think that if Freddy changes up his map picks, not to give him too much secret sauce, but I think that like on more vanilla maps that could have a lot more value because he was like running off the map, running into lava. So like on like a vice or like a classroom where there's no hazards on the field, I think that power up is way scarier. I think a lot of people's power ups were negated by the fact that we were on Thunder Island for half the games.
yeah, but those cows were great
Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping for a little bit less Thunder Island, but obviously, it's entirely up to the team managers.
because
Um,
I don't think that many people from our group will watch this specific part of this. I'm predicting that we have a record low. I'm calling less than 3 Thunder Islands picked this week. Because
I sure hope
everyone's gonna
so.
revert. Um,
But I mean,
so we'll.
if I were Grant or Colin, I'd be going right back.
Yeah, I mean, they did well.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a wrap on the team power rankings. Maybe we speed run this next segment a little bit.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair.
of of sidekick. Because we just went on a deep dive for that. So maybe we go a little bit quicker here. But we're just gonna do a real quick of a sidekick tier list off our initial impressions from week one. Um, what do you
Try
think? And we don't
on.
have to use all these tiers. We can just use the top three if we want.
Put
Um,
just put dry bones in S for me.
yeah,
I know it's not in order, but it's where he belongs.
yeah. Dry Bones
Oh,
S. Do you think anyone else belongs in S? Because I honestly wouldn't be mad if Dry Bones is there as his own tier.
I think he's alone.
Yeah,
It was disgusting how effective he was.
yeah.
Um,
Offensively and defensively.
yeah. In
Um,
A, I think I would put Birdo.
Based off statistics, I think you're right.
And I don't really want to put her there alone if I'm being honest, but I kind of want to. I'm a beef up A if I don't put her there alone.
Yeah,
Um,
who else statistically had a good showing? Monty was pretty darn close to her in goals per game, but his results were very different. Berto was 5-1, and Monty was 5-5. So Monty played a lot more games, but had more goals per game there, and also did use his skill shot once. Um, I don't really know who else would go there, to be honest, though.
my the people I'm high on right now are Hammerbro, Koopa, and Shy Guy and Monty.
Hmm.
But I don't think that I can put any of them in A with Birdo, and they definitely don't all belong in B is my issue. So I'm gonna go in order now, and I'm gonna put Boo in F. Eh, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna put Boo in D
Yeah.
because he did win at least
Yeah.
thanks to Eric.
Hmm.
Toad Toad should go in F because in my mind he's worthless.
Yeah.
Um,
But how
I
much more
think
worthless is he than Boo?
not much, but I'm not gonna put anyone else in D and F, and I think Toad is definitely worthless less than Boo.
Hmm.
Um, just to the point that he's gonna be different. Just so we have someone in everything, you know. I don't think there's a huge gap there. I just think that it's if there wasn't an F, they would both be in D.
Ha-
Um,
Hammer Bro's a really interesting one
and
because
that's my issue.
he averaged 0.6 goals per game across 24 games. So he played significantly more. And his win and loss statistics are very much influenced by the fact that Adam had 2 games this week and ran triple for both of them.
Yeah,
So I don't really know what to make of him.
I think he has a high ceiling, but my issue is his reluctance to shoot his skill shot.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're right. B at best.
yeah. Um, I think Monty should also go in B.
Mm-hmm.
Defense. work rate there. His little juke is actually incredibly effective, and he pulls it out rather
He
frequently.
spams it all the time.
Um, but not a goal scorer, which is why I can't go. I think his ceiling is definitely B. But I say that, but I think he might have had a goal against me, and therefore Jacob would have won off that. Um, but I think B is good for him. I kind of want to throw Shy Guy up in B as well, but I think Shy Guy and Koopa both being C just kind of fits since they're the same build.
Let me talk to you with some statistics.
Okay.
Koopa, 2 wins, 6 losses. 0.1.25 goals per game, 0.1.25 skill shot goals or assists per game. Not really turning the page in either of those. I think that Koopa should go in C.
I'd agree.
Shy Guy begs a little bit more of a question. 2 wins, 4 losses, 0.67 goals per game, and very very low skill shot goal to assist, which pretty much all sidekicks do. They never use their skill shots, unless you're dry bones. So I think that the argument could definitely be made for Shy Guy being in B to spice things up, but also too I do think that his statistics are worse than Birdo's and Monty's, especially in the wins and losses.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it up to you.
I think we put him in high C. It also makes it look pretty, which is important to me. Um,
Very symmetrical,
yeah.
very very very
Uh,
Tetris.
but uh, I'm very okay with this. Now, the other thing I will state is just because a character is in SABC does not. I would not necessarily think that a team of Drybones, Berto, and Monty would be the best group of sidekicks that would exist. I just think that if you're looking for offensive production, those three are the best at offensive production. Dry Bones is a decent defender, so that's why he's an S. But like, I think as long as you don't have the fewer boos and toads on your team, the better your team will do, in my mind. Now,
Which
I am looking forward to eating my words as we stream on Saturday this week, but um, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think this is very fair given week one, but it definitely could change. And like you said, it's all circumstantial to who your captain is. But across the different games and across the different captains, I think that this represents their performance.
Yeah.
Um, so last segment, we'll do some predictions for week two. Like you said, we'll be streaming on Saturday morning. I haven't really taken much of a look at this, but I think that lots of interesting games, especially right off the bat. These first two are, if we go back to our tier list, these first two involve a bunch of our highest teams. So I am very intrigued to see what happens here as my screen is doing great things.
It's trying its best, which is all you can really
There we
ask of
go.
it. There we go.
Okay, Grant versus Colin. So mirror match in captain statistics. We got the scream versus the fart. Um, I need to take a look at their builds here.
Colin is Toad Birdo Dry Bones. Grant is Boo Dry Bones Shy Guy. I'm gonna throw out that Grant is gonna take another tie here. Um, and I think it's gonna be another game. Mm, I think they're both gonna be high scoring games, and I think that one of the games someone's gonna rinse someone else. But then the other game's gonna be a nail biter and come out like 5-4.
I think no matter what,
Uh,
both games are going to have a lot of goals.
Absolutely, gonna be a great way to start the Saturday morning. Um, I'm gonna say goal differential, and we're gonna do this based on home team in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. Um, so Grant's gonna go plus. I'm gonna go. Grant's gonna go minus. Um, -3.
I'll do it like that as opposed to okay. Um I'm gonna go Colin here. I think Grant's off to a tragic start to the season. And I think that's gonna continue. And I think Colin's gonna win with the goal differential of +2. So 2 1-goal games. We're talking like, 5-4s, 6-5s, high scoring, but I think Grant's team doesn't have it where it counts.
Off to here for Grant.
Colin
Colin,
versus Eric. Very, very different game.
very different game. I think Colin's gonna sneak away with this one because I think Bowser's gonna put up goals. Don't get me wrong, but I think that the triple boo is gonna come back to bite him, and I'm curious to see if he changes anything. I'm gonna go Colin, and I'm gonna be ambitious. I'm gonna go Colin +5.
Colin +5. I mean, I think that is very fair. First game of the first series of the season for Eric. He played against a very defensive team in Garrett. Um and so I don't think the boos were exploited in the way that they probably could be. Uh I'm going to be honest, I think I'm going to go a tie here just because Bowser's Mega Strike potential makes it so he's literally never out of a game. And
Absolutely.
so I think in one of the games, he will steal a win based off a Mega Strike in the last 30 seconds. But I do think that Colin is going to score more goals across the series and might blow out one of the games. So I'll go tie with a +3 for Colin.
Okay.
Grant versus Shell. So Bowser Jr. versus Mario. Um,
Bowser's got Boo, Dry Bones, Shy Guy last week.
mhm.
Just to clarify. Shell's got Hammer Bros, Dry Bones, Koopa.
Not to sway you or say that you can't do anything differently, but I have pre-filled in our answers.
Yeah, that's correct. Uh, I think the only question is the plus. And honestly, I think Shell's team showed that they can lock it down in a game if they need to.
Yeah, the only clean
Um,
sheet, right?
yeah. So I'm only gonna go Grant +2 here. But I do think he wins both games. I'm
Yeah.
realizing +2 means that he just wins both games by 1 though.
Yeah, you can't it can't be
So
+1 for a win.
I'm gonna change that up to +3 if you will for me, please.
I got you. That's pretty much the reason why I went. I think they're going to be 1 to 2 goal games. And
Yeah.
maybe one of them could be a 3 goal. We go from that game to what I think is actually a very, very close game. If I remember correctly, these are right next to each other in our tier list.
Yeah.
Danny versus Shell.
If I'm gonna predict the tie, it's gotta be here.
Yeah.
um, and I'm a go way out on a limb, and I'm gonna call a true tie of 0.
I love that. Do you think there will be a clean sheet? I think if there's any, well, Danny's team actually has a crap ton of shooting other than Peach.
Yeah, I could see a clean sheet coming. I definitely think that if I'm a betting man and the line is above, I think I'm slamming the under 5.5 in both in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I might take it under 3.5 for one of the games in the series, which would be, in my mind, insane. Since I think Eric would score 3 in the first minute.
Yeah, but I mean, there's probably, I mean, Peach is she kidnaps with her special, which does have some Mega Strike potential, but Shell just has 0. So that's tough. Um,
Yeah,
okay. Ham versus David. I know it can be tough to predict your own game. Don't want
it's
to
not tough.
play too many of your cards, but where do you go in here?
I'm going me, of course.
And by how
All the
much?
bias in the world. Let me look at what Dave's. Oh, I'm looking at this. I have some confidence in my team. I think I've got a good transfer coming in. I'm gonna go +4.
Okay.
If you don't back your boys, I'm not gonna like. You gotta back your own. Back
Yeah.
yourself.
I'm gonna go. If Donkey Kong was more prone to mega striking, I'd go way higher. But I think +4 is pretty accurate for what you can do just from goals from open play.
See, it wasn't biased.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, and David gets the double header against Freddy. Um, damn. Do I really just want to pick against David? I do. I'm going Freddy, but I'm just
yeah,
going +2.
I'm gonna go Freddy +3, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna put too much thought in this.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we think Freddy's winning.
Yeah.
The question is how much, and can David's team squeak out another result like they did week one? Because they did squeak that. Um, myself versus Adam. I'm just gonna go ahead and put my name in first because I gotta I gotta bet on myself.
If you don't back
Um,
yourself, what's you got issues?
yeah,
Um,
and I think it's gonna be not. Oh man, Adam's team doesn't have any defense. But
I
we
think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say our offense was terrible, so I don't really think we've shown that we could blow him out. I'm gonna go +3.
Yeah, I am gonna differ from you here. I'm gonna call it tie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm gonna go +2 to you.
Interesting how often we are. The schedule is completely randomly generated, but we have only gone for the away team like once.
I went at the first game.
Yeah, yeah, twice, I guess. But yeah, very, 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 very interesting. That's how things played out. Damn, dude. Did you have anything else to say about that series?
No,
Mm-hmm.
if you're about to point out that the front and back of this schedule is great games, I would be really excited and agreeing with you about that.
Yeah, and I also
Um,
just feel bad for Garrett. Like
Back to back tough weeks for
yeah,
sure.
he's he has gone through Wario, Bowser, and now Yoshi. Those are literally our top three teams.
Yeah.
Which means that the
Uh,
back half of his season will be much easier because you just play everyone once.
yeah.
But I would be hard pressed to go for anything but Jacob here. I think you have a captain that has a special and seems to be inclined to pull for mega strikes all the time. Um, so I'm gonna go Jacob. I think Garrett can keep it close though. I'll do a respectable plus. I gotta go +4. What you got?
See, part of me wants to go Garrett just because Jacob just beat me and I want to root against him now. But the other part of me went, I put him in S, and I think he is the best team in the league right now. And so I'm a drop possibly the most disrespectful, and I mean this in the nicest way, um, to you, Garrett. But I'm gonna go Jacob +7. I think he wins both of them, and I think he wins them both by 2 or 3 or 4. Um,
Oh damn, Garrett's gonna. I hope Garrett watches the middle part where we actually put him in a pretty decent tier and had a lot of nice things to say. But I
yeah,
think it's
he's
just
got a good team. It's just I'm afraid of the Yoshi team.
yeah.
Um,
God damn. What was week one? Did we? I mean, +7 is way higher than any goal differential that we've ever had. The
yep,
most the most we've ever had is 4.
yep.
That is horrific. All right, next up, most added sidekick. Um, I think you and I have talked about this in terms of making our tier list. I think it's got to be Dry Bones.
It's gotta be.
He is,
The only reason to not add dry bones is because you have dry bones already.
but then could you maybe have more Dry Bones?
that, that is the $1 million question, and I don't know. I just don't know the value of it yet. I
I think
think
it depends
someone
on your
will build
team.
to it. Um,
I think if your
but
captain's Waluigi or Daisy, you get less value because they're like the same. But I don't know. Maybe still then. Um,
I would argue if your team is like Mario right now and you're not putting up any goals, or Luigi and you're definitely not putting up any goals, Dry Bones is the best pickup in the world because he's scoring, he's playing defense, he's doing it all. Like, are you gonna be slow and you're not gonna pass the ball well? Probably, but he gives you an opportunity to put some in the back of the net, and he's quick to pull a skill shot. So I think he's got to be a priority ad for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so, and I don't really think there's too much room for opinion there.
No.
I think there is room for opinion on the next one, most drop sidekick. Where is your gut going on that?
So I've got some bias and I've got some data to help me with this. I think it's Boo. And my reasoning for this is Toad should be the most dropped sidekick, but there aren't enough Toads to get dropped. And so I think most people who have a Boo are gonna get rid of the Boo. Um, and so that is my prediction is that it's gonna be Boo. People are gonna be dropping Boo, picking up dry bones, and that's gonna be the most frequent transaction.
I could definitely see that. Um, hmm. I'm looking at wins and losses, and Boo went 9-5, and then I'm looking at Koopa and Shy Guy, who are the only two. Well, Hammer Bro is atrocious, but I don't think people are gonna be dropping Hammer Bro. But Koopa and Shy Guy both have pretty bad wins and losses, so I think that those are going to be the teams that are more inclined to make changes.
My question to you is yes, Boo went 9-5, but how many of those games were with Bowser carrying them?
6.
So if you remove those, he went 3-5.
Okay. Okay. I'll be swayed because I do think that Boo was probably the worst sidekick, but I think that more teams are going to be looking towards their balanced players on the chopping block. Um, I do have one more thing. I guess you can see this, but
Yeah.
the recording can't. I did think it'd be interesting to see what you think what's going to happen with stage selection, because week one we had 6 of 12 instances were Thunder Island, and I really am hoping for that not to happen again.
Uh, I'm gonna throw out first before I go most pick stage. Least pick stage in my mind is gonna be Thunder Island. I think it's gonna revert, and we're gonna get a lot of people going way away from it because we were on it so much. I think there are some people who liked it and will stay with it, but I think there are some that will definitely bounce away from it. Um, I'm gonna go most pick stage with. Did we play in the classroom or did we play in the other
We
spaces?
played in the classroom. That was the only vanilla game we had.
What's the other vanilla map?
The Vice, which is the default.
I'm gonna predict the Vice as the most picked stage. People are gonna go from we picked too many um, Thunder Islands and go to we didn't pick enough devices and we're gonna end up with a lot of devices.
I think that's fair. I think the only other thing that I would throw out there is the Sand Tomb, because I feel like people might be intrigued by that, and they might be running away from Thunder Island and the lava pit to another gimmick map, and I
Fair?
don't think they're gonna like what they see on the Sand Tomb. But I'm cool with the Vice. I actually would be excited to see the Vice get played, just because we were on gimmick maps like almost the entire time. Specifically,
Yeah.
one gimmick map almost the entire time. So it'd be nice just to see some good old fashioned strikers, and just see which teams can just perform when it's just the 6 players, well, 8 players out there.
Yeah. I'm excited for Saturday morning. Should be a good time. Always good to just hang out with the guys, but when we got a little silly game to play in the background, and or rather watch in the background, I think it's even better. Um, and I think that a lot of people are going to make changes. I think a lot of people are still going to be excited in week two. Um, we'll see how everyone fares, and we'll see how the mood is in week three. But I think week two is still an exciting week.
Yeah, and there's still a ton to play for. I mean, most people have only played one game, and then
Yeah,
even if you've played two, you still have 3 quarters of the season left. Like, I would be shocked if Garrett can someone like Garrett, who's had a really tough start of the schedule. I think he still very much can make playoffs. And I think it really
Absolutely.
will be a close race. Like, I mean, if we go back to the tier list, like top 8 are making playoffs. I think that there's a pretty clear cutoff right now for this top 4. And, one of them obviously may fall off. But right now, we're saying that 7 teams are vying for those 4 spots,
Yeah.
which is gonna be crazy. There's gonna be a lot of changes. People are gonna make adaptations. A lot of stuff is gonna be matchup dependent that we haven't seen. And I think that stage pick is gonna become like an actual thing that people consider. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of variables left to be played with.
Yeah. Absolutely. Be curious to see how stage picks end up influencing games later on. Um, I think that a lot of people aren't thinking about it that much right now, and I think come week 8, it'll be a very hot topic of what stage we're playing at.
Yeah, I think so as well. Um, well, I think that's going to be a wrap for this little week 1 recap and week 2 check in. Like Hamilton said, just super stoked for the games on Saturday. Watch some more strikers and see how things shake out. Any parting words of wisdom, Ham?
Drop Toad, drop King Boo, add dry bones.